You know what I read in January? It was books. Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying, you never know. It could happen. Anyway, this is my monthly update for January, and then my TBR/MBR might be read for February. We'll see if I could stick to anything, but I am involved in a lot of reads right now with other people, with groups, buddy reads, read-alongs, you name them. And we're pretty much full in on that. So anyway, let's jump into the January. First things first, this is a buddy read that was just for viewers of my channel, not for other channels or anything. No one else is involved. I'm just kidding. But this was started at least on my Discord, and I've been terrible at keeping up on it, so I apologize to anyone who's fallen off or anything. It's all my fault. I am sorry. This has been, I thought that things were busy in months past, and it just keeps getting crazier. But anyway, no one wants to hear about that. So first things first, we are reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I did finish The Two Towers. I absolutely loved it. It's so good. It's one of my it's my top, it's in my top 3, let's say, of all time fantasy. And it's not even number 3. Absolutely love it. This is what started me down this road. This was actually my 3rd read of The Two Towers. And it's just as good as ever. It's still amazing when I reread it every single time. Posted on the Discord channel where we're doing kind of our discussion on the Lord of the Rings, but and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but it might be, so you can jump to the next book if you need to. But essentially, I thought the movie did do one thing better, well, 2 things better than in the book. One, that they focused a little more on the Battle of Helm's Deep on the movie. I was surprised for some reason this time that there just wasn't as much emphasis on the Helm's Deep part. It's pretty much just a chapter, and I wanted more, like the movie. The other thing is the way that Tolkien's kind of divided up this book you get essentially, this book is divided into 2 books. So you have the first book is technically the 3rd book in the series because there were 2 books in the Fellowship of the Rings. And then the 2nd book of The Two Towers is the 4th book of the series. So the 3rd book only focuses on a group of characters, doesn't switch around at all, just focuses on them, gets to the, well, whatever point this is, midway point, 2/3 of the way point in their story, and then jumps over to other characters. And I like how in the movie that you're switching back and forth the whole time. It's a lot smoother, and you get to kind of, experience them both. Still both great, still one of my favorite books. I already filmed a review for this book, so that should be hitting pretty soon here. All right, this is a carryover from last month. Was not able to get to this book, to finish it, but I did finish it this month. So The Republic of Thieves, Book 3, and The Gentleman Bastards. This is so good. I love it. It's become one of my all-time favorite series. Sure, I might rank this one as if you had to give it it's the worst of the 3, but in a way that's but still better than a whole ton of other books. So they're if you have to rank them, and they're all S tier, but there's some that are slightly not as good as the others. That's where I'm at here, is ranking amongst S tier, because this one's still amazing, still great. Absolutely loved it. I love how Lynch is taking this to different places, to different characters, introducing us to I'm not gonna spoil. I almost spoiled, but introducing us to characters that you grow to love or hate, maybe. But anyway, I absolutely, as Murphy Napier says, adore this book. And it's going to be a little late, but we'll probably do a group discussion again on Murphy Napier's channel. All right, then I took a break in my epic fantasy reading to read some horror. This is actually recommended. I was on the Fantasy Files podcast, their YouTube channel. Great group there. Absolutely love them. Go subscribe if you haven't already. So I was on there, and we were talking some horror books, and so I was recommended, so thank you guys, to Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. And man, did I struggle sleeping. It was probably not a great idea to read this book while I am busier than I've ever been, because I was up late at night reading. I was freaked out. I was like, why am I reading this in the freaking wee hours of the evening or morning when I shouldn't be? I should just save it for the daytime, but I like literally couldn't stop reading it. So it was amazing. Anyway, absolutely had a blast. I had some issues, so I think we may talk about it. It wasn't a perfect book, but it got me in it. It really scratched that horror itch that I was needing there. All right, and then for the fourth book, rounding out my month, got 4 in, which is pretty much my average. Especially those are some chonkers, so I had to round it up with something to pad my numbers a little bit. But Spider-Man Fake Red, it's actually a manga, and it was pretty good. It's not my favorite ever. I've said this before. I've never loved the trope of like the superhero not having the powers, and essentially this is about not a superhero even, a kid that finds the suit and then it kind of steps up. So there's some really good aspects to that I really liked about it, to kind of, like who's really a hero? That's the question being asked here. So I like that aspect of it. Artwork's great and stuff, so it's well done. I struggle with that kind of trope. So, middle of the road for me. I'll probably not ever do a review on this. So let's be honest, we're probably more like 6 out of 10 shelves. So we'll go with that. All right, that's my January update. How'd you do in January? I'm sure you read a lot more than me, but hopefully your January was a good one. Let's jump into February. What are we thinking about? What are we reading? Let's go. First things first, obviously, I've got to finish up the Lord of the Rings trilogy with The Return of the King. I can't wait. It's absolutely a blast. So I'll be starting that very soon here to be able to catch up with, or keep up to date with, the Discord. And I cannot wait. This will be, again, my 3rd time through Return of the King. And I'm putting Two Towers as my favorite of the trilogy, but I don't know, maybe this time I'll put Return of the King first. We'll see. So it's just been nice to see kind of just more nuances here. I've appreciated Boromir so much more this read through. I've had some really good understanding of this story, and some just extended love that I already had a lot of love for it. All right, then I've already started. I was hoping to finish in January, but I'm about halfway through. It's A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. Oh man, I keep telling everyone, it's great to be back to Joe Abercrombie. I was just on Beard of Darkness' channel, Matt there, and talking about it. It's just, there's so much about Joe Abercrombie's writing, but it is just, the characters are great, but somehow he's filled with wisdom or something, that just each character has some great line that they say, or I'm just constantly in awe of the writing here, and I'm constantly in awe of really pithy, like wise sayings and wise things that people are saying. It's really good, or not, but just are clever and hilarious. But honestly, just good to be back to Joe Abercrombie, and instead of just straight up, it is fantasy. It's in the same First Law world. We're still catching a lot of same characters, just older now, but in kind of more of an industrial revolution stage of the world. So it's an interesting take, and kind of jump ahead in time here. I do also I'm hoping to get to The Trouble with Peace. So that'll be the second in the Age of Madness trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. So same thing, more of the same. Finally getting my Joe Abercrombie fix on. I was kind of waiting. I knew we'd have a little bit of a gap between a bunch of Joe Abercrombie. The only thing other than this Age of Madness trilogy that I haven't read by Abercrombie is the Sharp Ends, the short story collection. So I'll probably still, again, save that maybe for a rainy day when I'm really dying for some Abercrombie and he hasn't put out a book, because I love how he does it. I love how he's actually writes the whole thing, the whole story, and then comes out with book by book, so you can really make it powerful. All right, then I will kind of round out this month with some Witcher, trying to finish up that while I'm on it. Hopefully the guys will let me back in. I keep slacking here. I'm so sorry. There's just been one thing after the other. But like I said, my schedule has been insane and way more so than usual. It's been rough. So I feel so bad, but the Joes, hopefully they'll forgive me, let me back in the club. But they've been talking, having great discussions on The Witcher. So one of the things that I've heard from a viewer, but apparently you're supposed to read Season of Storms, the short story collection, before finishing up with The Lady in the Lake. Some things are going to tie together there. So I was hoping to just jump into Season of Storms here very quickly and then do The Lady of the Lake to kind of round things up. So that'll be the last two essentially Witcher books before, like in the whole series that I'll be reading, partly in prep, but mostly just to read with friends. But partly we're getting a new Witcher book end of this year, maybe early next year. So that's pretty exciting news. I will be there. I'll be ready for it. Apparently, something that I had no idea I'd be doing last year, but suddenly was doing. And I've been loving it. I've been loving the journey and great characters, loving The Witcher here. That's my January and that's my February going forward here. What are you reading? What do you recommend? What am I missing out on? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for stopping by and we'll catch you later. Bye.